Other developing news we're tracking for you. The case against 3 Eldorado Park police officers charged with the murder of a teenager with Down syndrome is moving to the High Court sitting in Johannesburg today. Nathaniel Julies was shot and killed, you'll remember, by police in August last year. A community protest ensued after the shooting as residents disputed the official reasons given by police for Julies' death. Now, today's court hearing is expected to pave the way for the trial. Newzroom Afrika senior reporter Malungelo Booi is in studio with me to unpack some of the history. Welcome. Good morning.
Hi there.
Some of the history of the case and where we are now. Perhaps just as a reminder to our viewers, take us through how Nathaniel Julies died and where the case is now.
So it was on the 26th of August last year. We're told that Nathaniel Julies had just gone to a shop which is just meters away from his home to get some biscuits. He didn't go back to the house when he got the biscuits from the shop. He went to a block of flats where there was a vehicle, an old vehicle that was parked there to eat his biscuits. It was in the evening. Yeah. So what happened then, apparently these police officers who were doing rounds in that particular area, that's when he was actually shot by them, because seemingly, they were wondering what's happening there. But what has been interesting, though, Michelle, in this particular case, as you had said, that, this is a case that sort of like attracted, a lot of attention, and there were protests, in fact, the following day in that particular area. One of the things, though, that was said initially was that the police had in fact been responding to a gang-related incident, and that this boy was in fact caught in the crossfire. But residents had actually told us that actually there was no gang incident in that particular area. I spoke to eyewitnesses who actually said that they saw what happened and that there was actually no shooting between gangs that police were responding to. And most people were saying that in fact that young boy was shot in the chest, and that in fact his chest was actually riddled, had a massive a hole. Remember, he died in hospital. What we also know is that these police officers, this is what we've heard from some local police officers, that from some local residents, that these police officers dragged him and threw him into the police bakkie, and took him to Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital. That's where Nathaniel Julies, in fact, passed away. And residents had, in fact, Michelle, at the time, complained to us that they continued to be, they had been actually being subjected to victimization by the police in that particular area, and saying that what had happened to Nathaniel, it was essentially something that they had been expecting, because the way police are treating residents in that particular community was just not good. I mean,
the harrowing details coming out of that story at the time, as you're describing it now, it sort of comes back to mind. His father on the scene describing handprints on the side, bloody handprints on the side of the vehicle. And I remember it was you and I were on air at the time when Nathaniel Julies' stepdad came to us, and were live on air, and then he showed us those handprints that still had blood, it had his blood, in fact. That's what he was saying, that it was the blood of his son, and they were still not removed. And one of the charges, though, that these police officers are facing is that of defeating the ends of justice, because residents, what they'd been saying, that these police officers tried to tamper with the scene, with the murder scene. But also we know that one of the bullets that was used in this incident is a bullet that is actually banned in South Africa. And so it's going to be interesting then how also the police, these 3 men, argue their case out of it. But I think, Michelle, what is also important for me is that they've now been served with an indictment. Essentially, that's the state's case. That indictment details what happened to Nathaniel Julies from day one up to the day he died, and also
how these police officers acted throughout this particular period. But also, if you look into that indictment, the state will rely on at least 50 witnesses in order to get a successful prosecution or a successful conviction. And 20 of those witnesses, I went through that indictment, 20 of those witnesses are police officers. Some of those police officers are police officers who are colleagues of these 3 officers from Eldorado Park Police Station.
And we'll get a better sense today, I suppose, of the extent of the state's case as well, Malu. Before we let you go, Nathaniel Julies' parents and family, his mom, we've spoken to them as well on the channel. They will be happy that the case is gaining some momentum and is moving forward.
They are pleased that at least, the case is moving. I think they were a bit concerned earlier, when this matter was in the lower court because of the postponements, and also the fact that one of the 3 police officers at some point was granted bail in December last year. They were a bit concerned about that. But with the case now moving into the High Court, they sort of they can see that the wheels of justice are finally moving. Whether, they will get the justice that this young boy deserves, it's anyone's guess, really.
Well, you'll keep us up to speed as that case unfolds. Our senior reporter, Malungelo Booi, is tracking the story of Nathaniel Julies' murder, that case moving to the High Court, sitting in Johannesburg. Of course, you can catch all of the latest updates on that story right here on